British team manager Rob Hoekstra.
Since accepting the position of world-class performance manager for showjumping in 2010, British showjumping has gone from strength to strength. In February 2010, Rob Hoekstra said he would turn British showjumping around, that we would win the London Olympics and we would be world leaders. 3 years later, and he's achieved just this.
Well, I'm delighted to say joining me is British team manager Rob Hoekstra. Rob, it's been a fantastic year in 2013. 2012 was a major year for British showjumping, but 2013 has been a major step forward as well. First of all, well done.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I think we've been able to continue the upward trend, so to speak, and it's been a great year.
Going back 12 months to 2012 from the Olympic Games, how much did that change things personally for you, going from being a team manager of the British team to an Olympic gold medal winning team?
Well, that's a difficult question, really. I never think about it that way. I'm always sort of looking ahead, really, to the next challenge. I mean, as we were winning the gold medal, I was thinking what we could do next. And I think that's the best way to be in sport, because, you know, you're always looking to the next challenge. And the next challenge at that stage was first the individual medal that we were hoping to win, which didn't quite come off. And then, of course, it was then the Europeans.
It was a week of highs and lows, if you like, from that point, as you say. So close with an individual medal as well with Nick Skelton. How much extra pressure did you feel because it was an Olympic Games, because it's on home ground, other than normal team competition?
Well, I think the Olympics in itself is always a huge challenge. And, I mean, we felt the home crowd would actually help us. We liked the extra pressure it put on us. And I think the guys performed very well. I think the other thing is, I mean, obviously everybody talks about Nick, but don't forget that Scott was very, very close to winning a gold medal. I mean, they finished up equal in the end. And if Scott had knocked that jump down going into the double, he could have had a gold medal. So that's how close it was. And to have two guys that close to a gold medal at home in London, I mean, it was very special.
And do you feel, going on from London, that there's actually been a fundamental change in terms of attitude to the sport of showjumping within the British Isles and beyond?
I think everybody's talking about the sport a lot more. I think we're back, hopefully, to where we were maybe 20 years ago, when it was an absolute top sport in this country. And I think people are talking about it. It's back on the radio, it's back on TV. A lot of people have got back involved again. We've got obviously fantastic owners that have participated in a huge way with the sport. And I think all the guys are up for it.
And how do you think that's now reflected within the national sport, the growth in terms of the media coverage, the success that Britain's had? How do you think that translates into the feeling amongst the national riders?
There's a very big gap between the national competitions and the international competition, and we're trying to bridge that gap. We're trying to do that with the stairway competitions and different national competitions that are really important at county shows. We're trying to introduce more prize money, and also the riders have to step up, I think, at that level, and realise that the gap between the top of the national shows and the international shows is quite a big one. We've taken a number of national riders, or predominantly national riders, to some international shows, and they have struggled a little. Some have come forward and done very well, and more of that needs to happen.
There is a big barrier to break through from coming onto teams to start with to where we see those big team competitions and those big five-star levels from that point of view, and it's making each of those steps all the way. Yeah,
those steps are difficult, and if you look back, really realistically, only two riders have really made it to the top from the younger generation. Obviously Scott and Ben, 1 and 2 in the world, and I think other riders in that generation have to look at how they've done it. It's tremendously important to have that success behind you, that those gold medals give you tremendous confidence. I mean, you know, all the guys but Ben and Scott go to shows and they think they can beat anybody, as Nick, Michael, John have done over many, many years in the past. The nice thing now is that we can do it in a team situation as well as individually, and that's great for the whole sport.
The Riders' Rider of 2013. And Rob, you're going to tell us who it is now.
The rider that's won it has been an inspiration to many. I think he would have been sitting here 10 or 12 years ago, as many of our young riders are here today, dreaming about Olympic gold, dreaming about European gold. It's Ben Meyer.
What do you think's contributed most to his success?
He's been able to develop a very good owner team around him, firstly with the Phillipses and now with Jane Clark. It's hard to keep horses. A lot of the younger riders that are coming through, when they do have a nice horse, the temptation to sell is very big, which could be good for business, but you're not going to make it in the sport unless you have those top horses. He's been all over the place to really improve himself and continues to do so. I mean, we talk about technical riding a lot, little things that maybe change, that we can still improve, even with the likes of Scott and Ben that are already at the top. They're all the time looking to improve their technical aspect.
Scott Brash, he's had a phenomenal 2013 and again has really bounced off those Olympic Games and really come to the top of the limelight.
Yeah, I mean, Scott's, I mean, he's obviously fairly recently come into the top. He's won in the world. It's been the last 3 or 4 years. It's probably happened since I took over, and he's had opportunities to go places. He's got together with great owners, Lord Harris and Lord Kirkham and the ladies, Harris and Kirkham, that are absolutely vital to his success, and he looks after them very well. They have a great time together. And I think that's the way that Scott has come into the top. Besides being very talented, he's very hard-working. He has changed the way he's ridden. Over the last few years, he's got better and better at it. And he's improving all the time.
You described Scott, I read somewhere, as having ice in his veins, but he is a man that's very good under pressure and was proven at the European Championships.
Yeah, I think you'd probably call Scott laid back in his normal way of life and thinking. And he's at his best under pressure. That's why I put him last in some of the championships now. And recently he's been last in a few very big competitions, and he just likes that pressure to really be able to perform at his absolute best. And he's cool. I mean, we talk together before he goes in the ring, and it's like having a conversation I'm having with you now. You know, he's super cool, and he'll go in the ring and he can deliver.
Nick Skelton and Peter Charles, the two more elder ambassadors within there with more years on the clock. The two of them, how key were their roles within the team?
Oh, absolutely vital. I think not only at the games itself, but in the preparation before the games. When we had our training camps, there was a lot of cooperation, obviously, within the whole team. We spent a lot of time together, getting ready for the games, planning what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And their experience, I mean, Nick has been to too many Olympic Games to mention, and Peter has as well, and the whole team just worked together really, really well. And it was the youth and the confidence of youth and the experience from the guys that have been there before, and that's what got us the medal.
And interesting, we've seen two riders, if you like, go in different directions after that. Nick Skelton with Big Star winning the Aachen Grand Prix. Peter Charles' horse now moved to the States, and he's already very much working on Rio with the youngsters. Yeah,
I think Pete obviously looked at it commercially. He felt that this was a time to self-vindicate and regroup and try and build another horse towards Rio, which I think it looks like he's going to do. He's got some very, very nice horses coming on that are coming into the international level next year. But Nick has been slightly different. He's kept Big Star. Hopefully we'll keep him until the next Olympic Games, and I know Nick wants to have another go at it, and he could win it.
Well, I know from Nick's point of view, you saw the determination. He got that team gold, and now just going so close, and actually he's gone close more than once to the individual gold. That's still a big driver for him. Yeah,
I mean, if you look back at Nick's career, he's won, I think, every Grand Prix he can win. He's won lots of different championship medals. It's his first gold medal at the Olympic Games, and the one thing that he really wants more than anything else is an individual gold.
We're going to skip forward almost exactly 12 months to the European Championships in Denmark. Going into those championships, how much of a chance did you feel that we had of double gold, if you like, following on from London?
Well, I always felt we went with a really good team. I think, you know, when we decided Big Star wasn't going to go for this particular championship, a lot of people wrote us off and said, well, you know, it's a bit of a, you know, difficult without that top horse in it. And of course he is an absolute top horse. But I felt our team was strong enough to be able to come up with a very good result. I think when you go to a championship, you go to try and win a medal. To say we're going to go and win the gold would be a little ambitious. But obviously you go and try and win a medal, and if everything's right on the day, you can win a gold medal, and we did.
2013, did you think it was going to be as big a success as it has been? We mentioned gold medals there, and again, a couple of fences can make all the difference. There can be a little bit of luck in there as well as great talent. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you need luck. I mean, it would be ridiculous to say it's all, you know, planned, absolutely, because on the day you need the luck. We have got some very good horses. We've got some great owners that have been able to keep those horses for our top riders. And it's worked out great for us.
Going on from the riders we've mentioned there at the Olympic Games, you've had a very large group of riders that you've pulled in for the Nations Cups at the two levels throughout the season. Just reflect on some of those names that have been there this year. Laura Rennick, Guy Williams, Robert Smith, William Funnell have all been riders of, if you like, the slightly older generation with experience, but have been great to pull on.
Yeah, I mean, that was the intention to start off with. I think when I first started, we had 7 or 8 horses that could jump a Nations Cup. I think last year we used 14 or 15 different combinations at Division 1. I think we used another 12 or 13 combinations in Division 2. So we had a big team. And to be able to produce a championship team for gold medals, for Europeans, for Olympic Games, you need to be able to choose from that sort of team. At the same time, the other riders have kept us right at the top of the Nations Cups. We've done very well with Nations Cups. And everybody's contributed, and some of them have been young riders, William Whittaker, Louis Saywell, Dan Nielsen. A couple of riders in between have come back really well, Robert Whittaker. And then of course the older generation that have always been there and that keep producing very good rounds.
Reflecting on some of those names, especially in 2013, Laura Rennick, William Funnell, great performances with Billy Congo. They've been a great asset to you, and how important are they in the thoughts going forward?
Well, very important, because William Funnell in the end he came up with an unbelievable round at the European Championship that helped us win the gold medal. Laura Rennick was instrumental in winning the Nations Cup in St Gallen. She jumped a clear round and she went in the jump off and won. And they're all still very much part of the future. And in the end, it's all those riders are really capable of going to championships and winning at championships with the right horse. And of course the key is the right horse.
We've got the likes nationally of Emily Ward, of Jessica Mendoza, and a little bit older than that, Dan Nielsen, Tim Page, those sort of riders that, again, are a couple of rungs down, but coming towards that stage.
Well, they're going through a development period where they're learning a lot, they're getting good experience, they're doing some international shows, some national shows, they're getting some good success. They have to make a choice at some stage. If they get a nice horse, are we going to sell it? Are we going to take the money, or are we going to make something out of our career in show jumping? Some will decide to sell, and some will say, no, I want to make it to the top, as Ben and Scott have done recently. And that's a choice they have to make, and I hope that some will keep their horses and not sell them.
Rob, one of the common perceptions of the sport is that it takes an awful lot of money to be at the top of world show jumping from that point of view. There's been some real fundamental change within the British setup that has made such a difference to delivering medals.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest worries for the future of the sport. I think there is a tremendous amount of money in the sport now, in particular for the younger generation coming through. The temptation, if they have a nice young horse, to sell will be a big one. Because it can be a life-changing amount of money. If they want to make it to the top, they need a top horse. They need to develop a top owner. We have some fantastic owners, and that has been the key to our success. And we need to develop that further, because without that backing, you're not going to be able to keep the top horses. And the fear of becoming a developing nation, of developing as where you produce horses for other people to take on, is a big one. And I think especially with the countries that are coming up now, the Middle East in particular, of course, the Qataris, the Saudis, from Dubai. They're very keen to buy all the top horses. They're not producers of horses, they use the horses. So they will spend a lot of money on horses that are ready to go. The Ukraine is spending a huge amount of money. I think Brazil will be the next really big spenders for the Rio Olympic Games. Russia is coming into it, China is coming into it. And we have to make sure that those owners are looked after, that the riders look after the owners, that there is an incentive for them to keep the horses. And that will be my biggest challenge from now until Rio.
Going on to you personally, what's a typical day for Rob?
There isn't a typical day really, because it depends really on whether we're travelling to shows. Obviously I do go to a lot of shows, in particular international shows, because in the end my job is performance. I would like to spend more time at national shows, but there isn't just the time for it. I will often have 3 or 4 riders at 3 or 4 different shows, international shows. So some of the times I'll sit with 3 computer screens, and one will be on the global tour, one will be on the FEI TV, and another one will be on Clip My Horse. So I don't miss too much. Besides that, obviously I get all the results, but I do like to watch it because the results tell you something, but not all of it. I need to know what's going on.
And from the point of view, people look very centrally at the fact of you, but actually there's a team of eyes around as well.
Yes, I mean I have a lot of help. You know, I can concentrate on my management and the coaching to some extent for those riders that need it. All the riders need something different, and I have a great team behind me. I have great assistants, and I have great veterinary help. You know, everything's in place to be successful.
What is your process, your management structure, if you like, for looking at each of those riders?
You want me? Yeah, I can't tell you all the secrets, can I?
No, exactly. Okay, I'll ask you a slightly different one.
Okay, go on.
What sort of process do you have for researching around in terms of how that feeds in and the different levels that you're able to then use?
Well, I mean, I'm a technical person. I'm a technical coach, so I will look at how people ride, how they ride technically. I'll get a pretty good idea of the level of the horses. I will then give them opportunities at different levels, and I hope they come through. So I like to be hands-on. You know, I like to see the riders go, and I like to see what they're like under pressure, and put them under pressure. And very often I'll find that when I turn up at a show, people are under pressure, and I can see it. And I like it, because I like to see how they can perform. And if you look at all of our top riders, they're great under pressure. They're great in team situations. And when you come into a situation like we were in London, the pressure is enormous. And for those that can't take that pressure, they're never going to be really, really good team riders.
How much input do you have before they're going in the ring, or do you really leave them to it by that point?
It's very individual. It depends a lot on which riders we're dealing with. Again, there's a slight separation between the younger generation that look for more help, more coaching, more discussion. I think when I started, in particular the older generation, were very, very individual. I think now we talk a lot more about the course, about the problems in the course. But it is individual, and I don't push my way on riders. I'll be there if they need it, and if they don't, then it's fine. I'll help them in the collecting. I'll have a row with them if I have to, and 5 minutes later I'll be helping them, because that's the way I work. I don't hold a grudge. And I think they know where I'm coming from.
When you first took on the role, did you ever feel it would be reaching the point it has already?
I only took it on because I felt I wanted to win a gold medal with the team. It has been very successful, I have to say. And I mean, it's due to so many people. It's a team effort, you know. It's not, I'm obviously part of that team, but there's so many people involved with what we've achieved. And a lot of people that don't get the publicity maybe that I get, and certainly the riders and the horses get. But they work just as hard, and they spend as many hours doing it. You know, the grooms and the people in the offices and the farriers and everybody else is all part of a huge team. And I think because we're such a big team and such a strong team, we're very successful.
And looking ahead, we're already talking and very much looking at Rio in 2016. Yeah. How much more of a pressure position is it going to be for you going in as Olympic champions?
Well, we had a little bit similar situation, obviously, for the Europeans, because we came in as favourites, which we were not really for London, and we were pretty good fighting from the front. You know, we got ahead and we stayed ahead. It's a different challenge to coming from behind like we did in London. I think it'll give us extra confidence going to Rio as Olympic champions. Firstly, we have to qualify, and that's going to be the World Games, the World Games next year. That's very important because we don't get automatic qualification as Olympic champions. So the focus will be World Championships first, see how we go there, see how well we can do, and then on to Rio.
So Rob, when did you last ride a horse?
Not long ago, actually. We were doing some development training with our squad last week, and I rode William Whittaker's horse Fandango a little bit, and that's the last time I rode.
When did you last fall off a horse?
Can't remember. A long time ago.
How do you kill time on all of those flights?
Actually, I've just bought this computer game recommended by Scott Brash, which makes you a football manager. And I'm now the football manager of Chelsea. Well, I was until I got sacked, actually.
Good practice. What's your favourite film?
I quite like emotional type films because of the acting. I think Philadelphia was a fantastic film. It's a very emotional type film, and that's one of the great films. But I like lots of different films.
Do you do any housework at home?
Oh yes, lots.
How are you with a vacuum?
What's that?
How are you with a vacuum?
Yeah, what is a vacuum?
Exactly. Tell me as well, just one final question. After the Olympic Games, when did you get a chance to celebrate and how did you celebrate?
I think we celebrated after we won the medal as a team, and then we refocused very quickly. And the strange thing is, a few days after the games, you actually get a little bit of a down because it's such a unique high that a week later you don't actually feel like celebrating. So we celebrated a bit when we won the medal with the whole team and all the people that were around us, the owners and lots of our fans and spectators that were around us at that time. And I think that was a fantastic time. And I refocused very quickly on the next challenge ahead after that.
Well, Rob, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck in 2014 at the World Games. We look forward to lots more British success right the way through, of course, to Rio in 2016 when you defend that Olympic title. But lots of show jumping to come all the way through 2014. Join us for all of that. See you very soon.